Cloud.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Sam from Stonefly. I hope everyone is doing great. I would like to thank you all for your time to explore Veeam Cloud Connect backup and replication to public and private cloud. During the session, you can post your questions and we'll be answering those questions at the end of the session. Our speaker today is Mo. He's our CEO and president and the corporate storage expert. So without wasting time, I would hand over the screen to Mo to start the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Today we're going to take a journey to cloud, and I hope you enjoy your journey and it will be a pleasant one. And hope we see you coming back for more of it. I'm going to start by just looking at our website, and then for a minute or so you get familiar with the products. And then we're going to go in more details and discuss what the differences are that I see as private cloud versus public cloud. What are the advantages that I see? And, and as you know, everything changes all the time. And so hopefully as things changes, more features comes in, more facility becomes available, then we will bring those updates to you as we go. So today, if you look at our website, the way it's organized, it's, we are in different type of vertical markets. We are a storage company. We have been in business for 16 years. I guess at one time or another, we are known for, originating iSCSI protocol. So if you go to iSCSI.com, you go to Stonefly, give you a little bit of background. So, and then we built storage from year 2000 on with the block mode storage and iSCSI, and we promoted that as a standard and became standard. And so we have a backup and disaster rig appliances, then we have storage appliances, we have hyper-converged appliances, and in this section we have cloud offerings, and there's two major things that it's divided. One is a public cloud, which is our partnership with Azure. And this partnership actually is getting extended beginning of next month to Amazon, AWS, and then right after that, Google. So the same offering will be in three major cloud. Azure has been in the market for over a year, and then Amazon would be next month, and Google a month from now. And the second one is a private cloud, which we host in our data centers. And then, the big difference, if you look at even the title tells you this is called backup, and this one called backup and replication. So the biggest difference that we see here is replication has been added to the title. It means that we can easily do replication in our private cloud. Versus when we go to the public cloud, those replications are not available. It's only a backup for time being. In future, maybe get the replication added. And we'll talk about what the difference is between these services. And so that is one thing. So let me just start my presentation and you will see. Okay, so okay, so what does it, the repository that we offer for different type of cloud is going to be mostly a shared storage architecture. So it means that it's known as NAS products, and that is the ideal storage for most of the backup system. The standard connection to those the NAS products has been POSIX compatible, means CIF and NFS, and mostly backup application, including Veeam, uses that as connecting protocol. And then on the back end, we will explain what kind of repository you can get and what the cost factor is, and how it's going to make a big difference in how much you're going to pay versus what you're going to get, and which one is it's more suited to your applications and your needs and requirements that you have for backup and disaster recovery. As we talked about, is that the Stonefly products, you have backup and replication, and then if you go to a public cloud such as Azure, you have a backup and then direct restore. The big difference we will talk about a little bit here is that when you back up product, you cannot directly spin it up on the cloud. Means that it's just a backup. You need to restore first, and then you can back up. So this will happen in the public cloud with the direct restore for Veeam. So you back up your virtual machines, and then if it comes down to getting it back, you either restore it to a local on-premises, or you restore it to the cloud. Whichever cloud you do, if you do it in Azure, you use a product called Direct Restore, and then you restore it to a machine that is is sized to run like a A3 or A4 or higher. And the differences are mostly is how much CPU and memory you have. You pick that machine and you restore your virtual machine in that machine, and then basically you can spin it up at that time. With replication, you basically continuously replicating the virtual machine, and it's available on the instant. You don't have to restore. It's available right away, and then you can spin it up or fail over to it if you have properly set it up. And another thing is that both share the same thing. Public and private cloud both have the bandwidth optimization, bandwidth optimization, and VPN capabilities. So they are the same in both areas. Now encryption becomes important. Both of them are the same thing. Public and private cloud, both we do source at source rep encryption, and then in transit replication or transmission to the cloud, it's also encrypted and at rest. So you have all these options available to you. You can implement all of them, one of them, whatever you want. And then at the same time, you have a fully private cloud connector, which is VPN and TLS type of capability. So you have direct connections, private connection. And this is off-premises, which is basically, we call it private cloud basically. So you have all your virtual machines. Now, being Hyper-V or VMware doesn't make any difference to us. Of course, the Veeam backs up both of them, and and then it goes to the cloud. We stand a gateway, which is the job of this gateway basically is creating the VPN and bandwidth accelerations. And there is two ways we can get this VPN going for you. One way is it's belong to you, so it's unmanaged. You manage it yourself. You own it, and this gateway is yours and only yours. And then it could be the second way to do it is actually multi-tenant, means the gateway is shared with you and others, and then that resources is shared and everything. And so that's a multi-tenant system or just a dedicated gateway to you. So this is, you have to determine which one you want. You're going to pay for this resource if it's dedicated, and if you are going to be as far as shared, then you only pay a fraction of what you use the gateway for. And the back end, of course, is the storage, and you can go to the private cloud. You have the spin-up capability or failover capability. In Azure, you have to do direct restore and be able to spin up your virtual machines. As I said, we offer, on a private cloud, you have to designate what kind of hypervisor you have, because we land you in that zone, which has that is specific hypervisor, being a VMware or Hyper-V, because the machines, when they get backed up, they get backed up in original format. And if it's a VMware, it gets backed up in the VMware format, and if it's a Hyper-V, it's the same. And so then it gets spinned up on the that particular hypervisor that you use. And that's one of the big reasons that in a public cloud, we convert that format, what that direct restore does, because in public cloud they use their own hypervisor, which is not compatible with VMware. It's not compatible with the Hyper-V. So we, as part of Restore, we convert that to like Azure format, and then Azure machine, basically you want to call it, and then we spin it up. And that's what the reason is, that we don't support direct replication to it, because that conversion needs to happen. And so the same architecture as you see, you are sitting at on-premises, multiple customers coming. They have their own VPN, which is SSL and TLS supported, and then bandwidth optimized goes to the gateway. This shows the multi-tenancy systems, and you have bandwidth acceleration support on both ways. So you usually may get between 3 to 5 times acceleration on your bandwidth, and that's usually typical. And then repositories. We'll talk about repositories, how many different repositories exist in public cloud, and then in private cloud we'll talk about it. So again, another simple architecture: on-premises, TLS, SSN, VPN, and WAN accelerations and replication or backup happens, and gateway in the public or private cloud happens. Now let's talk about public cloud first, which is in this case Azure. Limitations that you have if you say, why I use a Stonefly or anything else? I just want to use Veeam, and they offer a storage, and I just basically use a repository that Azure offers. Yes, it does. Usually, when you have a machine in Azure, you provision disk maybe, and those disks we call page blob. Page blob usually are limited, have limitations. One of the big limitation is 1 terabyte. Means that each disk is 1 terabyte maximum 1 terabyte you can get. You can get multiple of those disks and becomes 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte, 4 terabyte, and so on. It depends on the machine. Like A3 machine, you can have up to 8 disks. A4 machine, you can have up to 16 drives, and each of them 1 terabyte. And your problem starts from that 1 terabyte, because if you are going to back up anything, any file backup that you have is larger than 1 terabyte, then you are going to have a problem, because it doesn't fit, and it would basically crashes maybe. And so it doesn't support anything over 1 terabyte. Then you have performance limitation, usually 60 megabit per second. And then, if you really require higher bandwidth, then you cannot even stand up a few of them then, because you can't aggregate all this stuff together. So it becomes a mess. And so, and it doesn't support, you cannot really interface like Veeam. It doesn't support repositories such as hot blob or cold blob. And those are price difference between the, page blob and hot blob and cold blob. I'll give you an idea, is that like page blob per terabyte in Azure costs about $50. Hot blob costs about $25, and cool blob costs about $15. So it's a big difference between $50, $25, and $15. And so you're going to pay for that storage in different ways. So what are the storages all about? One is a page blob. It's for random access, read and write. So if you're going to spin up machine, you really want to get the page blob to spin up the machines. If you are going to just do backup, hot blob is available for you, and cold blob. I mean, there is not really a whole lot difference. The only difference between hot blob and cold blob is not the access time, is not this and that, is the way they structured it as far as data in, data out. There you're going to pay a lot of money, almost, you know, maybe as much as $100 per terabyte to pull anything off a cold blob. So that is really prohibitive. So basically, so they're using it for archive. So people are, this is designated, there's big penalty for data out. So you have to be careful everything you put. Yeah, you might pay 15 bucks for storage, but you might pay, you know, 3 to 4 times more to take it out. Versus hot blob is a little more expensive, and the rates are much cheaper when you take it out, so it's more or less practical if you're thinking of getting the data in and out. And if you are going to spin up machines, then that repository you would probably want to use page blob to spin up, because it has a read and write access time optimized. And you know, we support all the 3 repositories, so you can choose one. You know, your backup, you can, you know, divide it up between, you know, hot blob, cool blob. It depends, you know, what kind of backup you do, when you do it, and so on and so forth. You're going to do archive, or you're thinking these are mission critical, and so on and so forth. So you can basically pick and choose what you want. And so this is, again, going back up as far as, you know, the direct restore. You have to convert the virtual machines to the format. After you do that, this is the machines that, remember when we talked about the page blob, yes, you can get it if you have a machine there. You can get 8 terabyte, 16 terabyte, 32 terabyte, directly attach it to like any Veeam backup that you might have. This is if you do it yourself and you don't want to use a Stonefly. And then the problem is that, as I said, 1 terabyte is your limitation. That's right away you hit it. The second thing is that as you need more storage, it becomes, you need a bigger size machine. So as the size of machine grows, you're going to pay a lot more. If you go to like 32 or 64 terabyte machines, then you need more. What it does, it gives you more cores and memory. So it might give you, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 cores machine plus, 200, 100, 200 gigabyte of memory, which you don't need. You just need the storage, but you're going to pay for those cores and memory, and you're not going to utilize it, and that becomes very, very expensive machine to run. And that's why you want to avoid going even doing that. So usually, as I said, you know, we take a machine, the smallest machine, and behind it we can create petabytes of storage for you, and you only pay for the cheapest machine, which is usually A3V4, which is like 200 ounce. And of course, you know, the support of the blobs are not there. Usually this is what we marketing-wise, we have limited this. If you need more, you know, more than happy to help you with that. But usually our support for page blob is, since we have a scale out, we can go up to 5 petabyte. It's not a 64, a 32, or 60. Any of these limitations, we remove all that. We can go to petabytes, and hot blob the same thing, cold blob the same thing. You know, so we take all the capacity limitation and most of the performance limitation. And other things like we can do geo-replication between clouds, between your on-premises data centers, and so on and so forth. So we have that already embedded in there. Encryption, snapshots, and geo-replication cloud to cloud. As the other clouds become available, then you can utilize this geo-replication nicely. And this actually presentation of 1 terabyte limitation you have, which is, we see that so important that we mention it all the time. And scale-out NAS that we have is you know, we talked about it. It goes to petabytes and uses a standard TCP/IP. This storage actually can be used with multiple applications you have, so not specifically only for backup. You can provision it and you know, integrate it with your Active Directory, and then, you know, use it as a collaboration storage in Azure, or even run some of your virtual machine as a NAS or iSCSI, because the storage will support you know, both block mode, file mode, and object, you know, all these three. So you actually you know, getting one interface, be able to manage all your storage needs that you have, being a block mode, which is very fast, iSCSI in there. Azure doesn't offer iSCSI, you know, it's only the cold blob and hot blob and page blob type of thing. And then, you know, of course, if you are going to use, you know, most of databases, for example, iSCSI is ideal for it. So you might want to provision some of your storage within same instance that you get the NAS. You provision some of that storage as iSCSI storage, or even some object storage, S3 storage, or anything else. We support other object storage within our application, so you have hybrid situation. So it's a Swiss Army knife, so you can actually get anything in and get anything out, and, you know, capacity-wise, performance-wise, protocol-wise, storage-wise. So, and this would go on premises. You can actually deploy these virtual machines as a storage node on premises and in the cloud. So, and they do replication between each other. They support you as an edge device when you install it, and use a caching device on premises if you have applications such as collaborations or uploads or sharing or anything like that. So these are very handy things, and this always uses one thing. And this actually shows you the scalability of this storage. You can just, first node, you can put as much as, you know, blobs or, you know, disk behind it, and second one, third one, fourth one. And you can create volumes across these things and present it as one big single volumes of petabytes, or, you know, multiple terabytes, or, you know, whatever you want. It's supported. Very flexible, you know, architectures for you. And, you know, again, unlimited, almost unlimited the scalability in the storage and throughput, Active Directory integrations. When you go to the public cloud, you have mostly capability to deploy this. If you have a multi-location across, you know, worldwide, then you can, you know, deploy it in anything that you want. We also are in the government, Azure government, so if you have any kind of agency requirement like FedRAMP, HIPAA, or other thing, PCI, anything that you have that is specific, we do have the same setup in the government, Azure government, and so you can go back and forth, or just go to Azure government if you would like to do that. As I said, you know, the simple interface, CIF, which is Windows-based protocol, SMB, and NFS, which is usually used for Linux environment or Unix environment. You know, Unix environment, if we can go, you have some products from like Solaris and things like that. Even we can back those up right to the product Max, Solaris, any you know, any other HPUX and things like that. So we go across multiple devices. Data services that we have is just mentioning that data services we have snapshot, replication, encryption, thin provisioning, and geo-replication. So you can enable those data services if you want, which sometimes comes very handy. Campus mirroring between two units, that you can do synchronous mirroring, asynchronous mirroring, and so on and so forth. And quota management, of course, and all the things that, you know, comes with the enterprise storage, you get it in the cloud. This is some of the interfaces, how you deploy something in Azure. You know, you just go in there and just, you know, use your Azure your Azure account. You type in for Stonefly, Stonefly shows up. These are some of the products we have in Azure, and all you have to do is that go there. For Veeam specifically, you go and pick up the NAS one. So this is like a scale-out NAS. This is this machine. You pick it up, and then you provision the storage as you want. And I'll show you some of the pictures, the screenshots of how it's done. So you just pick up the NAS from and you buy that thing. We call this a scale out. So we just basically said, how about we scale out 3 nodes, and each node being X amount of terabytes. It could be 100 terabyte, 200 terabyte, whatever you want. You can have it, one scale out to be just, your hot blob, and the other one cold blob, and the other one page blob, or you can mix it, match it, whatever you want. So it's very flexible. And you pick up A3 machines, cheaper machine, A3 V2 maybe. That's the cheapest you can get. And we only need 8 gig to run and 4 core. So whatever that machine, you get the cheapest 8 gig and 4 core you pick up. And that gets provisioned. We just did 3 scale out. So if you see 1, 2, 3, we create 3 machines, and we kind of aggregate them together, so if you want, so you will see it's 1, 2, 3. And then you can create, one DNS names, and basically you can access all these guys, all these 3 machines from one. And then, we go to the Stonefly. Stonefly interface looks like this one. We go to the system, which is basically that area you have the servers. This one, we go in there and just basically make sure we got all the, the DNS names are all set up, so our storage is actually can see the gateways and so on and so forth. So this is the storage part set up, and then, if we have 3 nodes, we have all the 3 nodes, we can see it there. And all of a sudden you might see like, okay, I put here 316 terabytes or something. It becomes like, almost 49 terabytes. So this is a scale out. And now I could put any kind of size in this scale out 1, 2, 3, and then they get aggregated together, and this shows one single space if you want. 50 terabyte, 100 terabyte, 10,000 terabyte or petabytes, and whatever you want. And that, as I said, you can actually create different volumes for different type of products. And, other things that we do is security. We go into firewalls and basically make sure all the settings are okay in Azure, for example, and it's set up. DNS names are important. We don't want to use IP addresses, because IP addresses in Azure changes all the time. So when you restart the machine, IP addresses changes. So you just really want to hook it up to the DNS. And so that stays the same. The repository, we go to the Veeam and actually go into the repositories and look at what Veeam has, and and then we start mapping our cloud storage as one of the repositories, which we call it the backup repository, and that's it. I mean, we just log into that, and then it sees it. And I'm going really fast on this because it's all detailed. Where you click and where you put this stuff. We create a little bit of caching, so it caches on the local buffers. It automatically, most of these are done from the Veeam screens, one after another, and then that's it. I mean, you mount the volume and the repository, and that's it. You're pretty much done there, and your setup. If you want to enable your WAN accelerations, you go in there into the Veeam, and again, you enable the WAN accelerations, and both from the gateway and your local appliance, and that starts again. And we are pretty much done after WAN accelerations. You see these two, the Veeam on premises is connected to storage via the gateway, and as I said, you can own your own gateway, or you can be sharing the gateways in multi-tenancy. And in the multi-tenancy, we manage what you get and how you get it, so we can help you out there, and we build you on that. And of course, all these things, if you go to Azure, it can be built directly from Azure. You don't have to deal with us. It's all done by, if you want to deal with us, we give you what's called bring your own license. If you have special needs, or large amount of data you want to do, we issue license ourselves for our products, and and then if you are going to use, you have some special, setup with Azure, you want to get billed by Azure, you can do that as well. If not in our data center, we bill you directly. So this is it. After you see all the terabytes, and you make sure that your connection to the repository is protocol is basically supported by Veeam is safe, and then you're done. I mean, that's pretty much putting the stuff in the Veeam and the gateway and creating repository, and you're done. And as I said, the big difference between private and public cloud usually is a price. One is that private cloud, usually they want to use one type of drives, which is basically equal to your page blob. Approximate cost of private clouds are $75 per terabyte. And then if you go to Azure, it's the same thing, almost $75 per terabyte for page blob, and then goes down to 25 and 15 after that. With licensing and everything, it's maybe about $35 and maybe $25. So it's still very attractive for if somebody who wants to do archives. And the big difference that I see between private and public is the ability to spin up instantly, means replication, versus in public cloud you still have to do conversion to that hypervisor, which is private cloud is based on, and then you can spin up the virtual machine, so you have that conversion. Okay, I think we are kind of taking a lot of your time, and hopefully it was interesting journey to cloud. It was short, and if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer.
Okay, that's great. Mo, we had a couple of questions about pricing and licensing, and I think you pretty much covered that already. So that's pretty much about it. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. I appreciate that, and hope to see you soon with another webinar later this month. So thank you once again, everyone. Thank you, Mo, and all of you have a good day ahead.
Thank you for everybody attending, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye now.